West Asia is on a knife's edge. Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard Corps is issuing its sharpest warning yet as the American warships are steaming towards the region. And Donald Trump keeps the option of military strikes firmly on the table. Tehran has said that its finger is on the trigger. Now, the language of force is growing louder by the hour, and our next report tells you more.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the same force that led the deadly crackdown on the recent nationwide protests, is now signaling full military readiness. The IRGC says that Iran is more ready than ever, finger on the trigger, and has warned the United States and Israel to avoid what it called any miscalculation. All this is unfolding as U.S. naval forces surge towards West Asia. U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed that a massive American fleet is heading in Iran's direction. The fleet includes the aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and multiple destroyers, with another aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, now at sea from the Atlantic. Trump insists that he prefers to avoid war, but made it clear that force is very much an option.
Where do things stand with Iran? The U.S. has got sizable military assets.
You know, we have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction. And we'll see what happens. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely.
At the same time, Washington is turning up pressure on multiple fronts. A new Pentagon national defense strategy calls on U.S. allies to take greater responsibility for their own security. It reasserts American dominance in the Western Hemisphere and warns that Iran, despite recent setbacks, could try to pursue a nuclear weapon again. The document praises Israel as a model ally and signals that it could be further empowered to defend itself. Adding to the tension, the head of the U.S. Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper, was reportedly in Israel for high-level meetings this weekend, even as official confirmation remains absent. Some Iranians say that Donald Trump is using psychological warfare.
Trump's actions and threats is a psychological warfare. They like to play with people's thoughts and soul, because he has said this many times and has not acted on it, and we have not seen any action from him.
Iran, meanwhile, says that it has taken note of the U.S. military buildup and is operating on high alert. Tehran says that any attack in any form would be treated as an act of all-out war and met with the strongest possible response. For now, both sides are talking about negotiations, about deterrence, and about red lines. But with warships moving, warnings flying, and tempers flaring after a bloody internal crackdown, the question is no longer whether tensions are high. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now joining us from Washington, D.C., we have Professor Giorgio Cafiero, who is a professor at Georgetown University and also CEO of the Gulf State Analytics. Professor Cafiero, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, there are threats that are coming in from Donald Trump thick and fast in terms of what he intends to do in the case of Iran, and also the fact that there's this armada of American warships that is headed towards the region. In your assessment, what do you think is Donald Trump planning here?
Well, thank you for having me back on your program. Great to be with you as always. I think Trump is definitely trying to intensify the pressure, and I think he certainly wants to intimidate Iran and scare the leadership in Tehran into thinking that he could and would wage a very intense series of military strikes that take out many important facilities that the state uses, not only internally, but also for its projection of power abroad. The question, though, is whether or not Trump is actually serious about this or whether his bluff is going to be called. I think that clearly there are some important actors in the region, countries such as Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, and Turkey, that have been working very hard to convince the Trump administration that it is wise to avoid the path of military escalation and to take diplomatic off-ramps.
Right.
So far, they have been successful this year in terms of preventing Trump from taking military action. But Donald Trump, as an unpredictable leader, is always difficult to predict, and it remains to be seen what decision he ends up making. But I think what Trump is trying to do is to get the message out to Iran that a very intense strike may be imminent.
Right. Now, something that's baffling a lot of people who've been watching this region closely is earlier Donald Trump had said that the American weapons are locked and loaded, and if Iran were to crack down on the protesters, then the Americans could get involved militarily. But now the protests have practically petered out in Iran. So what is the premise that Donald Trump perhaps would give if he wants to have some kind of a military showdown with Iran?
It's a really good question. There may be multiple premises to a U.S. military strike against Iran. Trump put himself into a little bit of a box last year